This is why alternate picking 3 notes per string feels very awkward for most guitar players. And the reason for this is because of a concept known as outside picking. Every time we transfer from one string to the next, we are also alternating between inside picking and outside picking. Let me show you what I mean. If I start alternate picking up the C major scale, something very interesting happens when I go from the E string to the A string. Notice that when I go from the E string to the A string, I have to physically move my hand down, but also strum up at the same time. This motion that's created by having to move your picking hand and arm in opposite directions is what gives you that awkward feeling known as outside picking. Or to put it simply, picking in the opposite direction of which we are traveling. So if I'm traveling across the strings this way, doing upstrokes, or if I'm traveling across the strings this way, doing downstrokes. And if you're playing 3 notes per string, it actually happens 3 times. Once at the beginning, right here on the D string, then finally on the B string. So if you take a look at my picking hand, you'll notice that I'm strumming down, then traversing to the next string with an upstroke, but traveling towards the floor. And this outside picking situation happens both going up and down the scale in the same spot. And if you're trying to practice your alternate picking, this creates this mental tongue twister that's very awkward to play over, especially if you don't realize what's going on. And personally, this is something that I struggled with for a very long time because I naturally gravitated towards 3 notes per string, and I ended up doing a lot of economy picking. That outside picking feeling just didn't make sense to me, and because of that, I naturally just gravitated towards picking in the direction that I was traveling. But now that I've taken the time to understand and break this down, it's a lot clearer. And I figured out a way to practice this outside picking to make it a lot smoother and ultimately get a lot faster. So the first exercise is very simple, and a lot of players refer to this as the Paul Gilbert lick. But very simply put, you're going to be hanging out on 2 strings and only playing 4 notes. And the exercise looks like this. That is it. But what we're trying to focus on here is that outside picking. We want to deliberately put ourselves in the position to have to do it smoothly. And all we're trying to do is really focus on building the muscle memory around that outside picking sensation. For the second exercise, unfortunately, it does not sound very pleasant, but trust me, it works amazingly. And for this one, we're going to be doing it in the exact same spot. We're going to be doing 4 inside picks followed by 4 outside picks, and it's going to look like this. Like I said, it doesn't sound very good, but what it does do is it gets your brain to shift between that outside and inside picking very aggressively. And this is an exercise that you can do to a metronome, but I want to stress that the point of this exercise is to not play it as fast as you can, but rather do it as many times successfully in a row as you can without making any mistakes. And you can also add variations to it as well too. So if you wanted to do 2 inside picks followed by 4 outside picks, or 4 inside picks followed by 2 inside picks, or whatever you'd like, just try and keep it fresh and really force your brain to work. And then finally, exercise number 3 is to take those outside picking groups and put them together and play through the entire scale in groups. And that's going to look like this. You should take notice that as I'm traveling back up the strings, I'm starting each new group with an upstroke. So for example, if I'm starting on the high E string, upstroke again, upstroke again. And notice I'm forcing myself to play that outside picking sequence every single time. Now I understand that these exercises feel like an absolute brain twister, and you're probably going to end up playing them very slow, but check out this video as to why that's actually a good thing.